Welcome everybody to our presentation and thank you for coming. So our presentation for today is finding your niche in computer science. Move on to the next slide. So drilling down to this topic, we've all heard of front end, back end, full stack, and all these fancy terms, but these terms can only get you us so far. There's a lot more than this, and on the next slide, Nimra will ask a question.
Okay, so do you guys know of any specific areas or have interest in any specific areas of computer science or just tech in general? Brainstorm.
I like data science.
Okay, that's good.
I like web development.
Very nice.
We got any bioinformatics people? Some real geniuses in here.
Brandon, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That's a really hard question for me because like I find interest in everything and then I read something and then I kind of lose interest and then I pick up interest in another thing. But I guess I just kind of find most everything. Like I can see like the interesting in multiple different kinds of like concentrations. So, but I mean, one that I feel kind of gets overlooked. Not saying that I am like a pro in it or anything. I just know of it. It's like cybersecurity, things like that. I feel like that's something people kind of forget about sometimes.
Yes. Okay, well, yeah. That's anybody else?
High performance computing.
Yeah.
I was about to say suffering because that's what I always call it.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention blockchain. So there's that, and also web design.
Yes. Anybody else? Robert, you want to say something?
Recently I've gotten into creative computing, like generative art and stuff. I haven't gotten the chance to work on it myself because of the semester, but it's really cool. Definitely recommend checking it out.
It sounds so cool.
Yeah, got a few links we're gonna share with you guys later, and some information on that will be in there. Like we worked on this together, got a lot of cool things.
Yes, especially you who mentioned hacking. There's a hack you should watch. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Robert wants me to read this quote out, so I'm going to read it. Sure, it's great that you know what you want to do, but what about me? Okay. So, tips for how to get started. Consider topics that are interesting to you. So, non-tech topics that may interest you. So, like, I'll give you an example. I really like history, so I'm doing a minor in it. And when I was like starting out, I would just look up like history and computer science, or like ways that computer science could aid hit the world of history. So, in like, there's people, or like I guess like museums, I don't know, historians that are trying to trying to decipher dead languages, or like trying to decipher ancient languages. So they need like technology or like software to be able to do that. So they need tech people to help them with that. And that's just one way that, you know, a non-tech field, computer science can help a non-tech area. Also, you can work as a computer science kid or like a tech person at like the Smithsonian, right? So that would be really cool for somebody like me that is interested in history. And then if you're interested in like medicine or biology, then you can do what Robert mentioned before, like health informatics, which I think we're going to talk about later, but yeah. Okay. And then see what your friends and classmates are up to, right? So talking to your peers and figuring out what they're up to can help you try to like direction you into what you might want to do for whatever, you know? So like Amelia was like, what's the generative, whatever the heck Robert was talking about, they can meet up, talk about it, and maybe Amelia's like, oh my god, I want to do that, right? So talk to your people and try and figure out what they're doing. Also, research opportunities. So go on Google and just look up random things. Literally just look up random things, right? So what, like, that could be literally anything, right? Just go on like Reddit and stuff like that and look at what other people are doing. You can look up like literally anything. You know what I mean? Like if you're interested in computer science and medicine, look up computer science internships in hospitals. I don't know. I don't even know if they have one, but they probably something like that probably exists, right? And then go to events related to your interests. So there's an app and it's called Meetup, and it basically is like a place where you can go and it tells you about events that are happening in your area online and in person, and you can meet up with people that are also interested in the same field or in your field, and you can talk and go to conferences and stuff like that, even hackathons, right? So those are just ways for you to get started, but I think the biggest in all of this is just doing a lot of research and going on and talking to people and or going on Reddit and just reading about what other people are doing, reading books and stuff like that. The list of things that we're going to mention to you later.
Alrighty. So after you've done all that research and found like some amount of things that interest you, I want to talk about some ways to learn more about them, like effectively, not just flounder about slapping your keyboard. Number one for me, like these aren't actually ranked, but the first one is number one, is joining a community. Even if you're an expert, this is great because, everything else other than communicating is just ideas that have been created and thrown out there. But when you're in a community, it's like in motion, it's more specific, you're conversing with people, it's useful. You can help and be helped by others. This would include like GitHub, forums, chats, what have you. And then social media is a little more detached version of this, I guess. You got fun things on there, but then there's also, knowledgeable people in tech. It'd be like Twitter, Reddit, Instagram actually has some useful information. Maybe Facebook. Not sure about that one. News is great. Like a lot of times it's full of fluff pieces that aren't that useful, but if you find the right websites, it's going to be information that directly impacts you both in the hardcore tech side and in business. And books and journals, they're not just for class. You've gotten a lot of great ones from the professors, but definitely recommend finding more. And the next few slides, we're going to talk a little deeper about each of these. So for communities and social media, first thing I'm going to talk about is forums and projects. Forums are kind of out of fashion at this point. I don't know how many of you have actually signed up for one. Like, I guess you count Reddit. But some of the most dedicated people spend a lot of time on forums. Like, they're having long-form discussions about very esoteric things that you might not have heard of before, but could help you a lot. One piece of advice I have if you do sign up is not to get stuck in too many arguments, because that's very easy to do on a forum. And I would lump project websites like GitHub in here a little bit, because they do have discussion functionality, and you can't just contribute without interacting with people on the forum side of it. So keep that in mind. People are very often open for your contribution, input, and participation, and you can just even look at what they're talking about. You could glean information off that. Then blogs and whatnot. This is is more Twitter and Reddit to me than the last section. So for whatever reason, a lot of smart people online like to give away their knowledge for free, and you should take advantage of that. They'll post things that might normally actually be in a book, but I guess they didn't want to bother going through the trouble of publishing, and you get free information. And due to the way platforms like Twitter and Reddit work as compared to a normal blog website, if you follow one good individual, you're very likely to see a lot more useful accounts pop up very quickly. And like I mentioned before, this is how I got into the generative art. Like I followed some 3D graphics artists just because I liked what they were doing, and for like one reason or another, the algorithm started showing me these generated artworks that I thought were really cool, and I want to try to get into. And chats are good, like the Discord we're in now. If you want to have some kind of ad hoc discussion, just something pops up in your head and you think maybe someone here has an answer for you or some useful information, you can ask. And very often people respond quickly. And remote support is pretty bad, but if you have a quicker communication medium like a chat, it's going to be at least a bit smoother. So that's nice. And just the same as working out, if you're talking with other people, working out with other people, or in this case, working on the computer with other people you're communicating with, it's going to be a lot easier. You'll be more motivated to keep doing it. And the last thing I'll say about chats is that it's a great way to get in a project when it's still like in the planning phases before everyone knows about it, and it's much harder to get into it. And the last section in community is real life. You know a lot of people. I think you should talk to them. They got information for you. You got information for them. Plenty of interesting individuals started on their most famous projects while they were in school. That could be you and your classmates. So make sure to show up in Austin 208 next fall, all right? Last thing I'll talk about here is news. I broke it up into two separate categories. Like I mentioned earlier, actual technology news that's most obviously applicable to what you're doing or what you will do. You'll discover new emerging development tools, technologies, all that great stuff. You can read about upcoming events. Like All Things Open is one that I liked attending, even though it was online. But yeah, different things like that. I do recommend ignoring all the articles about shiny keyboards that you should buy. They're not actually going to help you. It's good if you want fun, though. Then industry business news is also good. I think some people tend to ignore this because they feel it's outside of what they do. But I think that's a mistake because it will have a direct impact on you, even if you work outside of companies like Google, Salesforce, etc., because they got their fingers in everything in the business world. So if you're working somewhere, they're having an impact on you in your tech work. And definitely at least try to pay attention to what they're doing a tiny bit. And Amelia is going to talk about books and journals in the next slide.
Hi. So they went over some classic and maybe some obvious resources to find your niche, but there are so many others. Your classes probably have introduced you to a lot of good ones, but they really do only scratch the surface. So the first one that we have is checking the works cited on resources that you use. This one is really good if you already have found an article or research or some sort of other resource on an area that seems sort of interesting, but you just aren't sure yet if it's for you. You don't know enough yet. Maybe you're using resources for a tech paper, or you just found a really cool tech article that popped up on your feed. Try to scroll down and check the works cited area, and that just helps you take what might be like a minimal interest in like a small amount of information and expand it out and learn more about it. Hopefully, which will give you the confidence to pursue it if you find it interesting after that. Also, browse libraries and bookstores. I know the first instinct is to go straight for the online and tech options, but you would be surprised how much libraries and bookstores can be a lot of help here. And in the beautiful resources PDF that Robert has created, there are some great books listed, but I really recommend looking for your own as well. So many libraries like Joiner are even equipped with employees whose job is to essentially help you find all of the options available to you, and you don't really have that luxury of like essentially a personal assistant when you're just Googling stuff. So that's really, really great. Even if professors aren't your favorite when it comes to teaching, they're often there because they had really, really great careers in the computer science field, or they're fantastic researchers. Whether or not that makes them a good teacher, who knows, but they are smart usually. They're really great resources that you pay for within your tuition, and so it's great to ask them about things like this, but as a bonus, it also sort of shows them that you're ambitious and you're serious about computer science, and that makes them more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt in class, just to show that you really do care about this and you're thinking about your future. Similarly, professors like Dr. Tabrizi and Sir TP often have research jobs open to students where you can get paid to learn about some of this stuff, and it can be like a short-term job, which will also look great on your resume. And then also places like the Innovation Design Lab on ECU campus host research teams where, again, your entire job would be to go for something like this. I know Simone is here. Her and I work on the blockchain research team at the Innovation Design Lab. That was one thing that like I joined. I didn't know anything about blockchain, and then it quickly became one of my like specialties and expertises. And even though that isn't something that I might follow in the future, I'm not really sure if it is. It does really help to have that knowledge, and also to know how to pursue a new niche. Another one is a company-specific event or mixer. Things like companies like Kaleido, and other tech companies, especially the smaller ones like Google or IBM or something like that, tend to have mixers that are mostly around promoting whatever they're doing at the moment, but also it's a great opportunity to meet a bunch of other people that have a mix of different jobs in the tech field. A lot of free that's really cool just to even go to one or two. Browse job descriptions. Even if you aren't applying for jobs, going on to any of the job opportunity places that you can think of, so like LinkedIn.com, even specific company sites like Amazon or Google or what have you.
Hey Amelia, you're cutting out a little bit. I think it. Yeah.
And then try it. If you found something that you have even a minimal interest in, I do recommend like trying something in it. Don't just read about it and research it. Trying it, even if it doesn't work out, and even if you can only put like a few hours to it, will get you really, really far. That's all I have for that slide. There are so many more resources that we just haven't covered. And then, so do you guys have any questions of anything that we've covered so far, or feedback, or anything related to this topic?
Yeah, or maybe some ideas of your own that we missed because we've only done so much.
Yeah.
Still in school.
This is a good time to like open it up to conversation if you guys have any thoughts about them.
Really good presentation, in my opinion. A good job.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you go on YouTube, you can usually find like videos on people who have careers in this. And usually have like a little intro class you can watch.
Oh yeah, we didn't really mention YouTube. That's a great point.
Day in the life video.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Twitch is great as well. You can see people programming on there. If you like web dev or games, that's very often what will be on there. And I'm going to post the slides and the links in the meetings text chat right after this meeting. I'm gonna put the recording up sometime tonight and post it as well. Sorry about the internet issues. I think some of what Amelia said is gonna get cut out of the recording, but hopefully not too much. And thanks for attending, everybody.